Hi, I'm Laura Becker and welcome to my songwriting series. You may recognize me from the front desk. I am the new office coordinator at Infinity and have a wide variety of artistic backgrounds. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself because we barely met and I'm still very new, and I'm so looking forward to really getting to know all of you. So I was a dancer for about 10 years. I have a degree in theater with a focus in nonprofit arts administration, and I am also an independent singer-songwriter. So I've been writing songs since I was about 5 years old. It's just something that I have just innately loved to do, and a process that I'm going to demystify for you a bit in this series. And make this accessible to you. You do not have to play an instrument or be a very experienced singer to learn from this series and to practice writing songs. I think that there's a common misconception that you have to be a super experienced musician to try your hand at writing songs, and I just don't think that that's true. Musical knowledge and skill certainly helps you to be able to articulate those ideas better to both the people that you are playing with and also your audience, and be able to translate your ideas that you're hearing in your head into actual playable material. But being a super experienced musician doesn't mean that you cannot get started on the process of writing songs themselves. The fact that you've clicked on this video tells me that you are musically inclined enough to have an interest in this, and I think that that is enough for you to get started. So I'm happy that you're here. So I'm going to take you through my personal process of writing a song from start to finish. Here are some topics that are going to be covered throughout this series. It's a very nuanced subject, so I wanted to break it down into digestible chunks that can really get you started and give you an idea of the different concepts that we're working with and how to implement them. And I think that using a song that I had written previously will come up through those speed bumps in the process, and sort of how to work around different challenges that you can encounter when writing a song. So here's a quick list of some of the topics that are going to be covered throughout this series. First and foremost is how to begin the process. There's a couple of different ways, and no way is more right than the other way. I'm also going to take you through identifying your musical values and implementing them, aka finding your voice. We're going to talk about finding the theme or the punchline in your song, using some poetry techniques to convey as much as possible in as few words as possible, and tell a story. I'm also going to go over how to alter a phrase and get it to fit the rhythm and the rhyme in the right way, and some techniques for doing that. We're also going to talk about how to establish a structure and a pattern to your song, and to use the structure to further illustrate the theme. We're also going to talk a little bit about music theory, a little bit. We're not going to go super deep because that is a whole world in and of itself, but I'm going to give you enough information to give you an idea of some of the things that you're working with, such as tension and resolution, and talk a little bit about chord progression and how that plays into this process. But a lot of this is actually going to be fairly intuitive, you'll find. So the song that I'm going to be working with throughout the series that I have written previously is called Power Lies. And I wrote and recorded this song in 3 days. So basically, the premise of this, Amanda Palmer of the Dresden Dolls put out this contest on her Patreon page to write a song based on this New York Times article about a power outage in New York City that had just happened. And the article featured a lot of really just beautifully illustrated just things that were happening, and it was just very vivid in its descriptions of the way that people handle uncertainty, and the way that New York City particularly took this experience that was pretty scary, because the subway systems and so much of our society depends on electricity, and when that goes out, what do you do? Do you panic? Do you make the most of the situation? There were all of these just really beautiful snippets of human behavior illustrated, like the Broadway stars going outside to put on a performance in the dark, and people going out in the street and taking selfies, and cops stopping them and saying that this is not the time to do that, and just a lot of illustration of connection. I'm not going to read the entire article for you right now. I will be highlighting certain segments of the article that I used for inspiration, and then sort of referring back to those and why I picked those parts of the articles to really put into the song, and why how I came up with the theme of the song, and how I wove that into the structure and the repetition of this theme. And so I think that this is a good example of how you can take source material and story tell with that through music. I also think that the subject matter of this song in particular is very eerily relatable to what we're all experiencing currently. I think that, none of us have ever experienced a pandemic before. There's certainly a lot of, strange connection and fear and hope and making the most out of uncertainty. So I think that this is a very appropriate song for that, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So I'm going to play that song for you right now. I again wrote and recorded this song in 3 days, so the recording quality is not super great. It was literally recorded in my bedroom before I had to leave for work so I could make the deadline, and I'm just putting it out there, but I'm really proud of the piece itself.
Subway stops longer than intended. People just trying to make a connection, and now it's suspended. World's gone dark, eerie and twilight. Power says power will soon be returning if we all just sit tight. All the shops empty out, and there's no Broadway shows, and there's no flashing lights to tell us when to go. And you'd think it'd be chaos and no power, they say, but here in New York it's just another day. I've heard that one solar ray could destroy all this power we've made, and I wonder how much power we have, and it's always much more than we say. Oh, it's always much more than we say. There's bands in the streets, tickets amended, people just trying to make a connection, and now it's extended. Power lies, often it's spoken, but we know true power lies in the things that we do when it's broken. People move along slow